welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do a video on my latest indoor garden. It's this very futuristic looking tower next to me from Lettuce Grow, and it's called the Farm Stand. I've been wanting a vertical style garden for a while, so I was super excited when Lettuce Grow offered to send me one of their products to try out. They have a couple different models. You can get the Farm Stand for outdoor use or indoor use, or they also have a newer product called the Nook. I went with the indoor farm stand in the medium size. So it's actually kind of a modular product. Each tier holds 6 plants. You can buy as many tiers as you want. I went with the medium, which holds up to 24 plants, but you can keep stacking tiers for a maximum of 6 tiers or 36 plants. So far I like it a lot, so I might do that. And if you've been wanting a vertical garden too, I have a discount code. I'll put it on the screen. It gets you $125 off, which is better than their current website promotion rate, but it does expire. All right, let's get into the assembly process. So when the boxes arrived, they were massive. I was kind of taken aback by how big the packages were. The farm stand itself comes in one box, and then the glow rings for indoor use come in a separate box. When you open it, everything was really neatly packaged. There's a QR code that you can scan, and there's both step-by-step video instructions and a PDF. So I thought overall it was a very straightforward assembly process. Lettuce Grow also does give you a 90-day guarantee, so if for whatever reason you don't like it, you can always send it back and they'll refund you, but you will need the boxes, so make sure to hold on to them. So the first thing to do is to set up the pump. The pump is essentially going to take the water from the basin and pump it all the way up to the top of the machine and keep it cycling throughout the garden.
First, you put on the suction feet. There are 4 little feet that help adhere the pump to the base of the machine. You kind of just push them into place and then screw on a fitting, and the fitting allows you to start attaching pipes to the water pump. Depending on the size of the farm stand you get, you'll need to attach either 1 or 2 pieces of piping. Since I have the medium model, I stacked a long pipe, another coupler fitting, and then a second long pipe. Then you want to double check that the water pump is in the open position, so rotate the dial counterclockwise until it can't turn anymore. Then you place the entire contraption inside the farm stand. I tried to get it in the middle of the tank, but it's definitely a bit tall and wobbly, so it doesn't really matter, it ends up tilting to the side anyway. And at the base, there's a center hole to feed through the electrical cords. Then it's time to assemble the farm stand. You take a grow tier and place it over the pipe onto the farm stand base. There's handy little symbols that guide you. You want to keep twisting until the icons are fully locked up, and you'll hear it click once it snaps into place. Since I'm using the farm stand indoors, I added a glow ring before adding the next grow tier. The ring's attached to the base in the same twisting method by lining up the circle and the lock icons, and again you'll hear that click once they lock into place. Then you want to make sure the electrical cords are attached, so you feed the power cord through the bottom of the base and attach it to the glow ring. Each ring has double-sided cables, so one cord feeds down to connect to the power cord and the other feeds up to the next tier above it. Then the first tier is all set up, and from there you're basically just repeating the process for every tier of your lettuce grow. I had 4 tiers to assemble, and I kind of got the hang of it, so it was all pretty straightforward after the first tier. The last glow ring will just have 1 cable because there's no higher tier to connect it to. Then you want to set up the diffuser. This will cover the pipe opening at the top and kind of sprinkle the water outward like a sprinkler, instead of just shooting it up into the air to fall back down. Once that's set up, you place the farm stand lid on top and lock it into place as usual. Then you move down to the base of the machine and start figuring out the cords. There's a rubber gasket that creates a tight seal at the opening. It also has a handy little slit so that you can tuck in the cords. Thread both the water pump cord and the power supply cord through that. It's a little bit of a tight fit, so you kind of gotta work it in there. And specifically for the power cord, you want to make sure to leave some slack so that the cord makes a J shape inside the farm stand. That prevents water from leaking up and out, similar to a U-bend trap in a sink pipe. Once the cords are all settled, you pop on the gasket and pop it into place.
When you buy the farm stand, it actually comes with seedlings, and you can, during the checkout process, pick which seedlings you want. I opted to skip that and just use my own seeds. I prefer to kind of grow everything from seed myself. And also, it's a way to ensure that you're not accidentally bringing in pests into your house. If you're super paranoid about bugs like I am, then I recommend doing that. If you're using the farm stand outdoors though, I definitely recommend taking off their seedling offer. because it's included within the purchase. I started my seeds in a countertop machine, a separate machine altogether that I already had on hand. And if you're going to go the use your own seedlings route, then I would recommend starting your seeds about 3 to 4 weeks before your farm stand arrives. That way, once the boxes get here, you can just unbox it, set it up, and directly transplant, and you don't have to have like a weird waiting period in between. Once the farm stand was all set up, I added in my little transplants. I actually had to change them over from the AeroGarden style baskets to the lettuce grow style baskets, which are a little bit wider and shorter. For some reason in my head, I was going to use clay pebbles to hold the sponges in place, but then I realized that the baskets are completely empty, so obviously that didn't work. What I ended up doing is just dropping in the sponges. They are a little bit shorter, so the plants sit lower in the cups than they normally would, but that's okay. And then I did add foil to kind of block out light and prevent algae from growing inside the machine and around the base of the cups. There are these little buttons that allow you to attach labels. I think if you get their seedlings, the labels are attached. It's just a really nice, clean look. I may make my own labels at some point, but I haven't figured out what to use that won't like stick up and leave like residue on the machine. So maybe, I don't know, if you have suggestions, let me know. I always am a little bit lazy about the labeling, so I don't really know what is what so far, but as they grow I should know. These are all plants that I've planted before. It's a mix of different bok choys, Chinese style broccoli, and tomato plants, so I'll figure it out eventually. But if you have a labeling system that you would recommend, let me know.
And then it was time to set up the schedule. So with the indoor farm stand, they give you 2 timers. One determines the schedule for the water pump, and the other determines the schedule for the lights. To be honest, this was the part I found a little bit confusing, at least at first, because the LG instructions showed the wrong display. So here's how to do it. Each pump displays a 24-hour time frame. The light-colored section is daytime, and the dark half signifies nighttime. For some reason, the numbers are written in a counterclockwise fashion, which also makes it confusing. Then there are these very tiny gray tick marks. These are toggles. They can move up and down. I am blind, so these were very, very small and kind of annoying to set up, but you just do it once and then it's good to go. Each toggle designates a 15-minute time span. So for the water pump, you want to set up a schedule depending on the temperature conditions. For indoor use, it's 15 minutes on, 45 minutes off during the daytime. And then here's what the schedule looks like for various temperature settings. To signal the timer to turn on, you want to push the toggle up. I just use my fingers, which are obviously much fatter than the ticks, so a lot of times I push up too many toggles at once. A pencil or something, slim, might come in handy there. Then you want to make sure to fill up the machine with water before you actually test that the pump works properly. The farm stand holds 20 gallons of water, which is a lot, so I had to run back and forth to fill it up like 20 times. If you're using this outdoors, it's much easier because you can fill it up with a hose, and that'll also be much faster. The process of filling it up for the first time definitely took a while, and I spilled water everywhere, so I would recommend like a mat or a tarp to prevent spills. Lettuce Grow actually carries one, so I ordered that, and also got a dolly and some other accessories just to make the farm stand easier to move around. Once it's full of water, it's very, very heavy and not recommended to move without a dolly. You also want to add nutrition at setup. Lettuce Grow includes Jack's nutrients. These are a powder form divided into 2 parts, A and B. It's nice that they include this. I actually just ran out of my other nutrients, so I'm going to switch to trying Jack's out. And a bag like this should last you at least a year, if not longer. At setup, you add a heavier dosage, 4 tablespoons each of part A and B, and then you'll do bi-weekly maintenance and add a smaller amount each time. There's a handy QR code on the back of the bag, so you can always reference the instructions, and basically you kind of keep the tank full and just top up. With powder nutrients, it's important to fully dissolve them in water, so I used some small glasses and a whisk to make sure everything was dissolved, and then pour that small amount into the larger tank. You can also do a pH test to double check the nutrient balance, just make sure that everything's running properly. They include a pH kit with the farm stand as well. Then it's time to set up the light schedule, so same timer system, but different settings. Personally, I always run my lights at night for all my gardens. I have them all on the same schedule. Electricity rates vary by location, but generally it is cheaper to run lights at night, and I like to do that because it also doubles as lighting for my apartment. I find the lights super bright, so I don't like them on during the day. Ideally, you would keep the plants on a similar schedule to sunlight and run them during the day so that they get full darkness at night. It's up to you. This is a recommended schedule that Lettuce Grow suggests. Then you want to sync both timers to the current time, and that way they will operate together at the time that you want them to. Plug everything in, and then it's time to do a little test run.
And yeah, that is the Lettuce Grow farm stand. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, or if you have one of these and have suggestions for things that you like to grow in them, let me know. All right,